What every father should tell his son about women. One of the most important lessons a father can pass on to his son is the value of respect, especially when it comes to women. Respect is not just a virtue to practice when convenient. It's the very foundation of every interaction and relationship. When a man respects a woman, it's not just about politeness or surface-level gestures. It's about recognizing her humanity, her autonomy, and her worth. This kind of respect means understanding that she is not there to fulfill his desires or expectations, but that she has her own path, just as valid and important as his. A father should explain to his son that respect starts with the way he views women, even before he interacts with them. How does he think about women in his mind? What kinds of assumptions does he make? Is he seeing them as equals or as something to pursue or control? These are the deeper questions that shape behavior, and it is these very thoughts that translate into actions, whether he realizes it or not. In a world where objectification and shallow relationships are often celebrated, a father's words must counter that narrative. He should tell his son, "A man who respects women doesn't see them as objects of desire or as challenges to conquer. He sees them as partners, as individuals with their own dreams, struggles, and goals. And it is that respect that builds trust, which is the bedrock of any relationship worth having." Respect doesn't just show up in the big, obvious moments either. It's there in how you talk about women when they aren't around. It's in the little decisions, like not engaging in degrading conversations or jokes about women. It's in the refusal to objectify them or reduce their value to mere appearances. A son should know that when he respects women, he is ultimately respecting himself. Respect is the reflection of a man's character, and if he cannot respect others, it says more about him than it does about anyone else. A father can remind his son that women are not perfect, just like men aren't. But that doesn't mean respect is conditional. Even in disagreement or conflict, there's a way to handle things that upholds dignity on both sides. When a son understands this, he's prepared to face the complexities of relationships in a way that honors not just the women he encounters, but also his own integrity. Perhaps one of the most impactful messages a father can leave with his son is this: a man's strength is not measured by how many women he can win over, but by the depth of respect he holds for them. Weak men take advantage of others. Strong men uplift them. This principle, if truly understood, will guide him through his life and relationships, shaping him into the kind of man others can admire and trust. One of the hardest lessons for a young man to grasp is the distinction between attraction and love. In a world where immediate gratification is often confused with deep connection, a father's guidance becomes invaluable. He must teach his son that attraction is easy. It's natural, often instantaneous, and typically driven by physical appearance or surface-level qualities. But love is something far more profound and enduring. Attraction pulls you in quickly, without warning or effort. It's biological and often overwhelming, especially for young men. There's a rush, a desire, a need to act on that feeling. But as any father knows, what starts fast usually fades just as quickly. It's vital to help a son understand that while attraction can be the spark, love is the fire that keeps burning, long after the initial thrill has worn off. A father should explain that love is a choice. It's what happens when you see beyond the excitement of attraction and decide to commit to someone, not because they're perfect, but because you want to build something meaningful together. He can tell his son, "Love isn't just about how someone makes you feel in a moment. It's about how you choose to show up for them day after day. It's in the way you communicate, support, and stand by each other, even when the butterflies are gone." Attraction can often be mistaken for love, especially when it's new and intense. Many young men will chase after this feeling, thinking they've found something real, only to be disappointed when the initial passion fades. That's why it's crucial for a father to guide his son through these emotions, teaching him that true love develops slowly through shared experiences, mutual respect, and a deep understanding of one another. The son should also understand that love is not just about passion or desire. In fact, real love is often marked by patience, kindness, and the willingness to sacrifice. It's about wanting the best for someone, even when it's hard. It's about growing together, rather than simply enjoying the highs of infatuation. A father might share this powerful truth with his son. If your feelings for someone only exist when things are easy or when she looks her best, that's not love. It's attraction. Love endures through the tough times, when things are challenging, and when the person standing next to you is far from perfect. Attraction is fleeting, but love is built to last. It's also important to teach a son that attraction doesn't mean obligation. Just because he feels drawn to someone doesn't mean they are meant to be together. Attraction can cloud judgment, making him ignore warning signs or overlook incompatibilities. A wise father will warn his son about this trap, encouraging him to be patient and thoughtful, rather than rushing into relationships driven purely by physical desire. Ultimately, a father's role is to help his son understand that love is not about what he can get from someone, but about what he can give. Love is active, intentional, and selfless. It's not about chasing after feelings, but about committing to actions that show care, respect, and responsibility. And when a young man learns to differentiate between attraction and love, he gains the maturity to build relationships that are not only passionate but also meaningful and lasting. As a father, one of the most significant pieces of advice you can give your son is to choose women who challenge him to become a better version of himself. While attraction may come easily, true compatibility is found with someone who pushes him to grow, both as a man and as a human being. Too often men settle for relationships where comfort and ease take precedence over development. But a real relationship, the kind worth pursuing, is one that demands growth. A son needs to understand that not all relationships are equal. Some people will enter his life to inspire him, to push him to think differently, to make him want to improve. Others, though, might pull him into complacency, content to stay in one place without ever pushing forward. It's important for him to recognize which type of woman he is with, and more importantly, who he becomes when he's around her. Fathers can explain that a good relationship is a partnership, one where both people are invested in helping each other reach their full potential. A woman who truly cares about him will not only appreciate who he is, but will also encourage him to become even more. She won't let him remain stagnant, nor will she be intimidated by his growth. Instead, she will stand by his side, walking with him as he evolves and changes over time. There's a key message a father should impart. The right woman will make you feel like you can conquer the world. She won't be someone who holds you back or makes you question your path. Instead, she'll be your greatest supporter, pushing you to reach goals you didn't even know you had. And this is a critical lesson, because when a man chooses a partner who inspires him, she naturally becomes someone he can respect, admire, and grow alongside. A father should also remind his son that this dynamic works both ways. Just as he should look for a woman who encourages him to grow, he must also be willing to inspire and challenge her in return. A strong relationship is built on mutual support, where both individuals help each other rise. It's not about competition, but about collaboration, where both people can thrive individually and together. He must strive to be the kind of man who helps his partner grow, just as much as she helps him. But it's equally important to teach a son to recognize the opposite, the type of woman who pulls him away from growth. Some relationships are built on insecurity, manipulation, or a desire to keep him from evolving. This is not love, it's fear. A father should tell his son, if she makes you feel like you need to shrink to fit into her world, that's not a relationship worth having. You need someone who encourages you to expand, not someone who is threatened by your progress. Choosing the right woman is one of the most critical decisions a man will ever make. A relationship can either propel him forward or drag him down. That's why a son needs to be selective, not settling for someone who is merely available or convenient, but finding a partner who will walk with him through the highs and lows of life, and more importantly, through the personal challenges and triumphs that come with growing into the man he is meant to be. Ultimately, a father should instill in his son the belief that the right woman will not make him choose between his dreams and their relationship. Instead, she will help him realize those dreams, standing as his equal and as his greatest ally. And when a man finds a woman who inspires him to grow, he not only deepens his relationship but also evolves into the kind of man who can lead, love, and live with purpose. One of the most valuable lessons a father can teach his son is how to recognize and avoid toxic relationships. While young men are often eager to experience love and connection, It's important to understand that not all relationships are healthy or beneficial. Sometimes, what seems exciting or intense can quickly become destructive, and knowing how to identify the signs of toxicity early on can save a son from years of pain and regret. Toxic relationships aren't always easy to recognize at first. They can be wrapped in passion, intensity, and even moments of happiness. But beneath the surface, they are built on manipulation, control, and emotional damage. A father must teach his son that love should never come with constant pain or feelings of inadequacy. A healthy relationship lifts both people up, while a toxic one drags them down. A crucial message to pass on is, if you find yourself constantly questioning your self-worth, doubting your decisions, or feeling drained instead of fulfilled, it's time to step back and evaluate the situation. This is because toxic relationships are often marked by one partner diminishing the other, either subtly through emotional manipulation or overtly through disrespect and control. Whether it's constant criticism, jealousy, or an inability to communicate openly, these are red flags no man should ignore. One of the traps of toxic relationships is that they can sometimes feel addictive. The highs are high, but the lows are crushing. A father can explain to his son that this roller coaster dynamic is a hallmark of a toxic relationship. The intense emotional swings create a false sense of love or passion, but in reality, it's a cycle of manipulation. True love doesn't leave you feeling emotionally exhausted, a father might say. Real love brings peace, trust, and stability. You shouldn't feel like you're walking on eggshells or constantly trying to prove yourself. It's also important to teach a son that it's not just about how the woman treats him, but how he behaves within the relationship. If he finds himself acting out of character, lying, or constantly apologizing for things he hasn't done, that's another sign the relationship is unhealthy. A toxic dynamic can warp someone's sense of self, making them feel responsible for the other person's happiness or anger. This kind of emotional burden is unfair and unsustainable. A father must also help his son understand that leaving a toxic relationship is not a sign of failure. Too often, people stay in bad relationships because they don't want to admit things aren't working or because they fear being alone. A father can share his wisdom by saying, "It's better to be alone than to be in a relationship that is slowly destroying you." Walking away from toxicity isn't giving up. It's protecting your well-being, your peace, and your future. Recognizing the early signs of a toxic relationship is key. Things like possessiveness, constant jealousy, and attempts to isolate someone from their friends or family are all major warning signals. A father should teach his son to trust his instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Staying aware of these red flags will allow him to make decisions based on logic and self-respect rather than emotional manipulation. A healthy relationship should feel like a partnership, not a power struggle. When both people in a relationship feel secure, respected, and supported, they are able to grow together. But in toxic relationships, there's often a power imbalance where one person seeks control over the other. A son should know that any relationship where his voice is silenced or his needs are ignored is not worth his time or energy. Finally, a father must remind his son that it's okay to seek help if he finds himself trapped in a toxic relationship. Whether it's talking to a friend, family member, or even a professional, there's no shame in asking for guidance. Toxic relationships can be difficult to escape, especially when emotions are involved. But with the right support, it's always possible to break free. Ultimately, teaching a son how to avoid toxic relationships is about instilling in him a sense of self-worth. When a man knows his value, he won't allow himself to be mistreated. He will understand that love should never come at the expense of his peace, and he will have the strength to walk away from any situation that threatens his well-being. A crucial lesson every father should teach his son about relationships is the importance of balancing independence and partnership. While love and relationships are built on togetherness, it's equally essential for a man to maintain his sense of self, his individual goals, and his personal growth outside of the relationship. This balance between being a strong, independent individual and a committed partner is what creates a healthy and lasting relationship. It's natural to want to immerse yourself in a relationship, especially when it's new. Many young men feel a strong pull to focus all their energy on their partner, sometimes at the expense of their own needs, interests, and ambitions. While this devotion may seem romantic at first, a father needs to explain that a man's independence is not something to be sacrificed for love. Rather, it's something that strengthens a relationship when managed correctly. A strong partnership isn't about losing yourself in the other person, but about two people growing together while still preserving who they are as individuals. A father can share this vital piece of wisdom. Your relationship should enhance your life, not consume it. This means maintaining your hobbies, friendships, career goals, and passions, even when you're deeply committed to someone. It's a mistake to abandon these things in the name of love because, in the long run, it often leads to resentment, frustration, or feelings of being unfulfilled. A son must understand that a relationship flourishes when both people bring their full, authentic selves into it. If either partner loses their identity or sense of purpose, the relationship risks becoming unbalanced, unhealthy, or codependent. That said, independence shouldn't be confused with selfishness. A man must learn the delicate art of partnership, knowing when to prioritize his partner's needs and when to focus on his own. A father can help his son understand that being in a relationship means making compromises, but not at the expense of one's core values or ambitions. In a healthy partnership, both individuals should support each other's independence while building a strong connection rooted in mutual respect and understanding. A father might explain, "The best relationships are those where you don't feel pressured to give up who you are or what you want to become. Instead, you and your partner should encourage each other's dreams, knowing that supporting one another doesn't take away from your own journey." This concept may seem challenging, especially for younger men, but it's key to sustaining a relationship over the long term. When both partners are allowed to grow individually, they create a dynamic that is enriching and inspiring, rather than suffocating. Another important lesson is that a man's value isn't tied to how much he can do for his partner or how dependent she becomes on him. Some men feel that their worth in a relationship is based on how much they can save or complete their partner. However, a strong relationship isn't about one person fulfilling the other's every need. It's about being whole individuals who choose to share their lives together. A father should teach his son to avoid falling into the trap of thinking that he needs to fix or rescue someone to be worthy of love. True partnership is about standing side by side, not one person carrying the other. A son should also be warned against relationships where his independence is seen as a threat. Insecure or controlling partners may view his hobbies, friendships, or personal time as competition. A father can advise, "If she discourages you from having time for yourself or makes you feel guilty for wanting to pursue your own interests, that's a red flag." A healthy relationship respects boundaries and understands that time apart can actually strengthen the connection between two people. Independence allows for reflection, growth, and a deeper appreciation of the relationship itself. At the same time, fathers should emphasize the importance of being a present and supportive partner. Independence doesn't mean neglecting your partner or prioritizing your own needs at their expense. It's about finding the balance, knowing when to be self-reliant and when to lean into the partnership. A man should be dependable, someone his partner can trust and rely on, but without losing sight of his own path in life. Ultimately, a son must learn that love is not about losing himself to someone else, but about finding the strength to stand beside them while remaining true to who he is. The best relationships are built on mutual independence, where both partners can thrive as individuals and grow together. When a man understands how to balance his independence with his role as a partner, he sets the foundation for a relationship that is both lasting and fulfilling. One of the most fundamental principles a father can teach his son about relationships is the value of clear and honest communication. No relationship can thrive without trust, and trust is built on open, straightforward dialogue. It's a simple concept, but many men struggle with it, whether it's expressing their feelings, addressing issues, or being honest about their intentions. Yet, clear communication is the bedrock of any healthy relationship, and it's something that must be practiced deliberately. Fathers can explain to their sons that real men don't avoid difficult conversations. They face them with maturity and respect. A strong relationship is not one without conflict. It's one where both partners can express their thoughts and concerns openly, without fear of judgment or retaliation. When a man fails to communicate clearly, misunderstandings, resentment, and emotional distance begin to build. But when communication is honest and frequent, it strengthens the bond between partners and ensures that both individuals feel heard and respected. A father might say, "Son, never assume your partner knows what you're thinking or feeling. Speak up, even when it's uncomfortable." This is because silence is often mistaken for peace, but in reality, it can be the beginning of emotional disconnect. Men, especially, are sometimes conditioned to suppress their emotions, thinking that vulnerability is a sign of weakness. But a father should teach his son that vulnerability is, in fact, a mark of strength. Being able to articulate your needs, fears, and desires requires courage, and it's what builds deeper intimacy in relationships. Another key aspect of communication is listening. Many people enter conversations only thinking about what they want to say, but true communication is a two-way street. A father must explain the importance of actively listening to a partner, not just hearing the words, but understanding the meaning behind them. Sometimes what isn't said is just as important as what is spoken. Learning to read between the lines, recognizing your partner's nonverbal cues, and validating her feelings all contribute to a deeper connection. A father might share, "When she speaks, don't just listen to respond, listen to understand." This simple shift in mindset can make all the difference. It shows that he values her perspective and is willing to engage with her on a meaningful level, rather than dismissing her concerns or rushing to defend his own position. When both partners feel truly heard, it creates a foundation of trust that allows the relationship to grow stronger over time. Honesty, of course, is the cornerstone of communication. A father must teach his son that lying, withholding information, or avoiding the truth, no matter how small the issue, erodes the trust that relationships are built upon. He can explain that even when the truth is difficult, it's always better to be upfront. Deceit may provide temporary relief or avoid conflict in the short term, but in the long run, it causes far greater damage. A father should emphasize, a man who hides behind lies is not a man of integrity. Be honest, even when it's hard. Moreover, honesty isn't just about not lying. It's about being clear about your intentions and expectations from the start. Many relationships suffer because one or both partners were not honest about what they wanted. Whether it's about the seriousness of the relationship, future plans, or emotional needs, being upfront from the beginning avoids confusion and heartbreak down the line. A son should understand that leading someone on or being vague about his feelings is not only unfair, it's a sign of immaturity. A father can remind his son that clarity in communication extends beyond difficult conversations. It's also about expressing love, appreciation, and gratitude on a regular basis. A lot of men assume their actions are enough to show they care, but words are just as important. A simple "I love you," "I appreciate what you do," or "I'm proud of you" can strengthen a relationship more than many realize. Emotional support, verbalized consistently, is a powerful tool in maintaining closeness and affection over time. Lastly, fathers should teach their sons the importance of timing when it comes to communication. Difficult conversations should happen when both people are calm, not in the heat of the moment. Expressing emotions or discussing sensitive topics when tempers are flared often leads to further conflict. A father might share, "Learn to choose your moment. Don't try to solve problems when you're angry or upset. Wait until you can approach the situation with a clear mind and a calm heart." In the end, clear and honest communication is what turns good relationships into great ones. When a man knows how to express himself openly, listen carefully, and communicate honestly, he lays the groundwork for a relationship built on trust, respect, and deep emotional connection. And as a father, passing on this wisdom ensures that his son not only succeeds in his relationships, but also becomes a man who leads with integrity and heart.